hundreds of Occupy movements could have turned into a powder keg this morning, but it did not. Occupy Wall Street protesters were thrown for a loop at 1 a.m. this morning when police called for a surprise sweep and totally cleared out Zuccotti Park. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg saying the First Amendment does not give anyone the right to take over a park.
Inaction was not an option. We could not wait for someone in the park to get killed or to injure another first responder before acting. Protesters have had 2 months to occupy the park with tents and sleeping bags. Now they will have to occupy the space with the power of their arguments.
All right, NBC's Mara Schiavocampo is live at Zuccotti Park. And Mara, what's the status on the protesters right now? Are they going back in now?
Well, Richard, this is where we get into a little bit of back and forth here this morning. Now, when they were cleared out early this morning, the mayor did say that they would be allowed back in. He did note, however, that when the protesters were allowed back into the park, they would have to obey park rules, which included things like no tents and no sleeping bags, essentially changing the whole nature of their occupation here. But since that happened this morning, a court issued an order prohibiting the city from enforcing laws that were put into place after they started occupying the park. And those include those rules of no tents, no sleeping bags, and the like. So now they're in a bit of a dispute over that. There is a hearing that's going to be held at 11:30 this morning about that, and the city has decided not to let anyone back into the park until all of that is straightened out. So it should be a few more hours before we know if and when they'll be allowed back in and under what circumstances to just come and congregate or to come and set up shop the way they have been for the last 2 months. Now, in terms of what they're doing now, several hundred of the Occupy Wall Street protesters that had set up shop here are marching not so far away to gather together to come up with a plan to figure out what they want to do at this point. You know, this space was full of tents, of food, of people's personal belongings. People who didn't take those things with them, they were taken by the sanitation department. So people have to figure out what they want to do moving forward. They do have an event that had already been planned for Thursday to mark the 2-month anniversary of the Occupy Wall Street movement here in Manhattan, and presumably they'll go forward with that as planned. Richard?
NBC's Mara Schiavocampo in New York City. Thank you for that report.